When you think of sushi, you're probably thinking of something that looks like this. But in Hawaii, it's not actually nigiri sushi that immediately comes to mind. Traditionally in Hawaii, when we think of the word sushi, it's Futomaki sushi that comes to mind. And not just any maki sushi, but one particular style of maki sushi that I want to share with you. One of the key ingredients to this sushi is Hana Ebi, or dried shrimp flakes. Even when we draw cartoons or make pillows of our sushi, besides the nori and rice, it's the red and green color in the middle of our maki roll that stands out as a defining characteristic. But I have to warn you, do not leave a pack of Hana Ebi lying around in your house alone with your cat, or you will come home to your kitchen looking like this. Your Honor, may I present Exhibit A? You were literally caught red-handed, Nanami. The primary and most important ingredient in sushi is actually the rice. So we're going to be making rice the way my popo did. If you haven't seen me make my popo's perfect rice, here's how it goes. In Hawaii, the rice we almost always use is Calrose rice. It's a short grain, white rice that's very soft, moist, moderately sticky, and has a sweet fragrance. But my popo's secret ingredient was to use 1 cup of actual mochi rice blended with the 4 cups of Calrose rice. It enhances the texture and the aroma of the rice to perfection. Sushi chefs spend years perfecting the rice before moving on to any other ingredient. At its core, sushi is defined not by the fish, but by the vinegared rice that was originally used to pack and preserve the fish. Be sure to wash it thoroughly at least 4 times until the water runs clear. Then add water until the first digit of your middle finger. Popo had a thick pot she would use to cook the rice on the stove, but a rice cooker gives you both ease and consistency. My wife's favorite ingredient in sushi is called Kampyo. It's a type of dried gourd. She would be perfectly happy with a Futomaki sushi with just Kampyo in it. But Kampyo is just one of the standard ingredients in classic Hawaii sushi. Rinse the Kampyo clean and let it soak in water for a little bit. Then we're going to simmer it in some shoyu or soy sauce. Since we're making sushi, be sure to use Japanese brewed shoyu and not Chinese siyao, as their flavor profile is actually different. To 1 part shoyu, we're going to add a half part of mirin and a half part of sake. Besides my popo, my biggest influence in making sushi was my mom's best friend, Mrs. K. She was a little old Japanese lady who would travel all around the world with my mom. She would invite us over to her house every New Year's Eve and cook us a traditional Japanese feast. As a kid, I remember being in her kitchen with her little dog yapping at my feet and smelling the amazing Japanese smells around me. It was like having my own Japanese grandma. We'll also add in a spoonful of sugar to get that perfect sweet-salty balance. Then let it simmer for a few minutes. When the rice is ready, add in a half pack of sushi mix. Now, sushi snobs will tell you not to use the packets. Using real sushi vinegar, sugar, and salt yields a more even and subtle flavor, whereas the powder can mix unevenly and you wind up with overly concentrated sections. But this is more convenient with the proper proportions of vinegar and other ingredients. Just be sure to mix it thoroughly. The next ingredient in our sushi has to be the tamago, or egg. To give our sushi the proper Japanese taste, we're going to add some hon dashi to our egg. Real dashi is made by simmering kombu, or kelp, and bonito, dried fish flakes. As we're just seasoning our egg, some dried hon dashi works perfectly well. Growing up in Hawaii, I feel like we're actually culturally closer to Japan than we are to the mainland USA in many ways. We take our shoes off when we come in the house. We eat rice with every meal and almost always eat with chopsticks. Growing up, besides watching Spider-Man and G.I. Joe, we would watch Japanese superheroes like Kikaida and Samurai Jidaigeki like Abarenbo Shogun. Every year when we would go to Mrs. K's for New Year's, we would listen to enka, or Japanese R&B, on the Red and White Song Festival. Enka is still one of my favorite styles of music to this day. So Japanese culture permeated our island life. And whenever we would go to a party at someone's house, there would inevitably be a tray of this type of sushi there. It's an island classic. Are you afraid to try sushi because of the raw fish? Well, our particular style of sushi doesn't even have any raw fish. When I was a kid, we did eat raw fish, but it was usually prepared as sashimi, not in our sushi. Instead, our sushi has got shoyu tuna. Now, I could buy a big hunk of ahi and slowly simmer it in shoyu and mirin until it becomes soft enough to flake off. Or, it works perfectly fine to just use a couple of cans of tuna and then add in a couple spoonfuls of the shoyu, mirin, sake, and sugar mixture that we simmered our kampyo with. It tastes almost as good. Of course, I can't open some cans of tuna without letting my cats have some. Just opening the cans makes them go wild. Hey, wait a minute. Nanami, you made a mess of the house earlier. Why should you get any? Okay, we need to cut up our tamago and our kampyo into strips so we can roll them into our maki sushi. You know, I'm a little upset. California has their own roll named after them, with crab and avocado and mayo. With the huge Japanese population we have in Hawaii, they should be calling this style of sushi the Hawaii roll. You know, you never even find a California roll in Japan. On the other hand, our Hawaii roll is the product of generations, 140 years of Japanese in Hawaii. They've developed their own Japanese identity, and we should be really proud of this sushi. Okay, on to the nori. If you want your sushi extra crispy, you can toast the nori sheets over one of your stove burners. Actually, as kids, we would just eat packs of nori like you would potato chips. I remember having a jar full of them in my dorm room in college. One of the things that made me think of home when I was terribly homesick. So now we're going to layer in all of our ingredients. Shoyu tuna, tamago, Hana Ebi, both red and green, and Kampyo, the essential components of the Hawaii roll. When rolling it up, you want to try and roll it as tightly as you can so that things don't fall out when slicing it up. Okay, it's not nearly as neat as when Mrs. K did it. Hers would have all the colors, red and green from the Hana Ebi, yellow from the tamago, and dark brown from the Kampyo, well defined and clear in the center of her sushi. Mine's a bit more messy. But you know what? I've also got a lot more of those ingredients than in some restaurants I know, who cut costs by giving you more rice and just the smallest amount of the other ingredients. And you know, it's kind of colorful and artsy this way. Besides the Futomaki sushi, when I was a kid, we had one other type of sushi that showed up at every party on the tray alongside it. One that doesn't even have any nori. In Hawaii, we call it cone sushi, but in Japan it's known as Inari sushi. Inari is the queen of the kitsune, the spirit foxes in Japanese folklore, like the Pokemon Vulpix, or Shippo from the anime Inuyasha. It's said that Inari's favorite food is fried tofu, so this sushi, stuffed in pouches of fried tofu, is named after the Kitsune Queen. I'm not actually sure why in Hawaii we call this sushi cone sushi. It's not actually cone shaped. You would think that a temaki hand roll, which looks like an ice cream cone, would be called cone sushi. But no, for us growing up here, this is our cone sushi. It usually doesn't even have any other ingredients, except for a little grated carrot, because the fried tofu is already marinated in a sweet sauce that it fully absorbs. That's a lot more carrot than usual. But again, it'll just be artsy and colorful, and the carrots will give it some extra sweetness. Now for a more modern take on cone sushi. These days it's become popular to top your cone sushi with other toppings, like poke or spicy ahi, similar to how you would top a gunkan or battleship sushi. But I'm going to top it with my favorite sushi topping, tuna mayo. But to get this to taste right, you have to use Japanese-style Kewpie mayo. It's sweeter and tangier than regular ordinary mayo. I've got a bit of leftover tuna. I'll just make a big musubi for myself. I hope Mrs. K would be proud of me. My sushi will never be as good as hers was, but I'll remember that taste every time I make it. Until next time, Joy Kim and a hui ho.